What's the deal, guys? It's Kali the One. We are back with another episode or live stream, whatever you want to call it. Man, if you're watching this, please like, subscribe. Thank you for the love, for the hate. It's all support. Also, if you're watching this, please make sure you go head over to the Viral Way podcast. You tap in with us. You like, you subscribe. You help us keep the movement moving. Without further ado, I want to get into the first topic of the day, which is about MLK, man. I've been seeing a lot of politically charged conversations surrounding voting, and civil rights, and was MLK Jr. Was his contributions in vain, or were they meant to just make us liberal? Was it the worst thing that happened to us? Was it the best thing that happened to us? So I'm really here to get into that, and so I'm going to react to some of our own content. Not the full thing, but just certain pieces to show you and kind of give you guys a basis of what we're going off of when it comes to MLK. I think it's an important conversation to have, especially right now since I've been seeing it, because I feel like a lot of people maybe are misinformed, or we're speaking from places of privilege, or maybe just we view things differently. And so I kind of want to come on here and just show people really how I feel about it, and maybe help people better understand, I think, my truth, or the truth of how civil rights has affected us. So here we go.
Has voting for anybody specifically
Right
done for the black community
really
specifically, because I get tired of people dancing around this. Oh, we can't just talk about black. Why not? The LGBT can specifically get every right in the fucking world. The Jews can specifically get every right in the world. Everybody else, the Asians, stop Asian hate, they can specifically get everything in the world. But when it's time for blacks, okay, this is just for us. Oh no, it's about people. We all people. Nah, fuck that. We all people, but we all different people. Everybody else got their piece of the pie. It's time for black people to step up and take their piece of the pie, because they ain't giving it to you. Well, see, bottom line.
And I agree slightly. I agree with you, but then I also don't, because I think that, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, following with the 1965 Voting Act, were those were the two biggest civil rights acts for any race in America, and really gave, I think, any race in America access, like everybody else, was to piggyback.
What the fuck has voting
back off of that as well? So I think while they could do more for us, and maybe voting doesn't necessarily help us all the time, it did. I just don't think that we necessarily as a people capitalized on it.
I think we lost more with the Civil Rights Act.
Was the worst thing that ever happened to black people. On top of that, you don't listen.
Okay. So as you guys heard, I kind of brought up, because we're talking about voting and what has voting done for black Americans. I brought up the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which ended those Jim Crow laws. I also brought up the 1965 Voting Act, which, ended the harsh requirements, you know what I mean, and sometimes unrealistic requirements it took for black people to vote, right? Because we were, we also talked about that in that video. Oh, well, they were already able to vote. We were already able to vote by 1965, but the difficulty to vote was very, very high compared to a white American at this time, right? So what I want to say is this. I think civil rights and what MLK did is a nuanced conversation. Let's talk about before segregation was stopped. They were saying that we lost more when it comes to the Civil Rights Act. I disagree, and we didn't really get into it in depth on the show, but I'll go ahead and give my point now. Maybe you guys will hear us talk about this some point down the line. But I feel, and I disagree, because when you look at pre-Civil Rights Act, yes, our families were more together. Yes, maybe wealth was more within our community, but we still suffered. I don't think people understand that we still suffered. We still didn't have access to education. We still didn't have access to legitimate health care. We still didn't have access to legitimate housing and things of that nature. Not only that, the only people who had access to more things were black celebrities at the time. And when you look at, okay, even black celebrities at the time, yeah, they may have made great money, but they weren't able to go everywhere that white celebrities were able to go. So you have, stories of Frank Sinatra having, black band members, and he having to go sleep somewhere else or arguing with the hotel attendant to let them stay because they didn't want to accept blacks. So you could have money in 1950 or 1940. It doesn't mean that because you're more financially stable that you are then going to be better off in America when it comes to how you were treated. Because at that point in time, you have money, but you're still black. So you still can't go and dine in some of these restaurants. You still can't go to some of these places. And, you know, obviously the rebuttal for that is, well, why would we want to go to these places? Well, there really is no particular reason. Why not go to these places? If this place is the, let's say, mainstream restaurant in America, or Denny's, for instance, why couldn't we walk into Denny's? You get what I'm saying? So it's not the fact that we wanted to, it's just why can we not? This is a mainstream place that America is saying is for America, but black Americans cannot enter, no matter what type of money I have, no matter what I'm doing. Right? So it's not only about the restaurant thing or being able to go in and out of places. It's really the fact of, yes, we may have had some money and yes, we may have had some status, but it still didn't get you better treatment. 100%. When we speak on civil rights as well, again, people like to say, well, our families were more together. That may have been true. There were still deadbeat fathers, though. And also, when you look at finances, there weren't as many of us in the middle class as there is now. So there was less opportunity back then. And while, yes, we did have more wealth within our community, we didn't have more people thriving within the middle class as we do now. We didn't have more people with a college education back then than we do now. So when you look at, for instance, MLK, a lot of people say, well, his dream was a trap, you know, and again, I disagree. I think that when you look at MLK and if you look at his background, he was a reverend. And also he was, you know, some of the first people to go to a pretty prominent school, I believe in high school, I believe W.E.B. Du Bois, Thurgood Marshall, other people went to that school that were prominent black figures that ended up helping black America exceed. So in MLK's defense, because you guys are like, why do we need to integrate into these schools and let's just make our own education, let's just do our own things. I understand that. And this is why I'm saying this is a nuanced conversation. Because in MLK's defense, at that point in time, black Americans are not the most educationally inclined, right? Due to us having to be cut off from certain educational resources. And MLK, being a reverend and being educated scholastically, at that point in time is looking at education as the gateway to freedom and success, or more success, because he's looking at the position he's in. If I'm here and I'm able to lead these many people, and everywhere that I go, when I find people in Selma or Montgomery or wherever the case is, and they're black, they're educated to a certain degree too. But I want that for all of my people. So when you're looking at the black schooling systems at the time, we were not on the same level of education or even provided the same level of books and resources. So I think a major part of King's point for integration was to get us equal education, because he felt that if we can all be equally educated, then we can have more success. I 100% agree. I think that MLK's afterthought was economics. And while people like the Nation of Islam and others focused on economics and economically empowering blacks, I think MLK felt as if we need to be educated first, and we need to be able to get those resources to then go on and say, okay, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And I think he succeeded at that, because once he was able to, you know, put the Civil Rights Act through, and we were able to get into colleges more and go to these certain places more, maybe different jobs, we were able to succeed more. Whether you guys want to believe that or not, the statistics are there. So we have had more opportunity, we have had more availability, and we've been able to do more now than we were back then due to the Civil Rights Act. But did we take advantage of it? That's another question that I want to ask people that are saying, well, MLK's dream was a trap and civil rights was the worst thing that happened to us. Did we take full advantage of it? I don't think so. Because at that point, we had the ability to go to certain schools. We had the ability to have certain jobs and do certain things. Now, that doesn't say that everything's just going to be 100% peachy and we can just do whatever. And I feel like that's a problem that Black America and Black Americans run into, is they want to put all of the responsibility for making it on one Black person instead of taking the little bit of responsibility that they're supposed to have, taking accountability and doing their part to help their community succeed. People always look at, and our culture always looks at things in this grandiose, big way, this bird's eye view. But if you just look at it from brick by brick, if you had 1,000 Blacks working incredibly hard in building wealth and building education and knowledge, that's very realistic and attainable compared to, oh, bird's eye view, let's just, you know what I mean, take everything all out at once. And I think that's what MLK's thinking was. He didn't want violence. People hated him for that as well. I mean, he didn't want his people to suffer. He said it that he would rather be hated than, you know what I mean, than his people dying. Now, I don't 100% agree with MLK's take on how he went about things. I think that, you know, I agree a little bit more with Malcolm of you do have to take what's yours, especially in America, because white Americans aren't just going to give it to you. You know, but I do see where MLK tried his hardest. I think 100% he did. And he still had to play Monopoly with these people, for lack of a better term. Like, he still had to go up to the president and negotiate terms. They're not just going to say, oh, yeah, King, okay, you want segregation to be lifted. You want people to be able to vote. You want people to, cool, give you everything you want. So we fought MLK. We fought civil rights because we're not 100% equal at this point in time. But we don't ever look at ourselves from within. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't going to be some obstacles or some hurdles to jump over. They're not just going to give us everything 100%. So we put all this on MLK as if he got us to the promised land when he led us to the lake. Now it's our point and it's our job to swim or to fish or to do whatever. And maybe if he was around longer, he would have been able to give us more knowledge and we would have maybe gotten more opportunities and more resources. But he wasn't. He made it so where segregation was lifted. There was people running through towns, killing Black people for supposedly looking at a white girl. Banks are getting built. Businesses are getting built. The KKK is running through and putting burning crosses on the front lawn. Killing preachers, hanging kids for supposedly being with white women, getting accused of rape, getting tarred and feathered. All of these things were happening prior to segregation being lifted. There was rules as if you see a white man on the street to walk the other way or to get off the curb and walk in the street. Don't walk by him. Don't look him in the eye. These were rules and unspoken rules combined with the legal rules that were inflicted upon Black people. So when we sit up here and say, oh, well, civil rights was the worst thing that happened to us because now we're more liberal and, you know, things are worse off and we were better together back then, we may have been tighter. But I mean, who's to say if that we were given the choice to be free from the jump, our decision making would have been different. You know, trauma brings people together. Let's keep it 100. And so we want to blame the system a lot also for Black people maybe being less together today, or blame civil rights for Black people being less together today. But who's to say that if we were born into a world or born into an America with no segregation, we would be picking each other anyway? And to me, civil rights happening and segregation being lifted shows that to a certain degree. A lot of people were dealing with each other because of proximity. So I would take today over back then because I don't want to be hunted. We're still hunted, but I don't want to be hunted in that fashion. I don't want the KKK rolling through the neighborhood. I don't want to be able to not eat somewhere because of the color of my skin, or see offensive and racist rhetoric everywhere you go. Have to be a second-class citizen. We know these problems are still present in today's America, but imagine in pre-segregation. So when a lot of us today say, oh, civil rights is the worst thing that happened to us, I feel like we're speaking from a place of privilege. We're speaking from a place of not having to go through those things. So we can sit up here all day and say it was the worst thing that happened, but did you actually experience it? We could say MLK's dream was a trap. We could say that all day, but was it? And this is the big problem that I have with the Black community. We want to get on Martin. We want to get on Malcolm. We want to get on Umar. We want to get on Marcus Garvey. We want to get on the leaders that actually laid their lives down on the line for us. Not Umar, but he's done work in his community. But Martin literally laid his life down on the line for us. He lost his life in pursuit of a better life for his people. So while we clowning on Martin and saying he was an FBI or a CIA informant and civil rights is the worst thing that happened to us, what did y'all do for us? What did y'all do for us? Y'all didn't do nothing. Martin actually laid his life on the line for us. Malcolm laid his life on the line for us. These people laid their lives on the line for us. For you guys to be in a privileged position to then say, oh, these niggas didn't do shit. What did you do? What did you niggas go do? What did the deadbeat fathers go do? What did the niggas that decided to go to the street life instead of pursuing a life of education and finance? What did y'all do? What did the baby mothers do that wanted to get on crack and didn't make the 100% right decisions? What did y'all do? The people that decided to push the negativity in hip hop instead of the positivity. What did y'all do? What did y'all do? The people who poison the community. What did y'all do? The people who pimp the women out and brainwash the children. Because it ain't just the white Jewish people, it's us as well. What did y'all do? The motherfuckers who have a less than 600 credit score. What did y'all do for the Black community? To give y'all the right to sit up here and say MLK didn't do anything and civil rights was the worst thing ever. That's just not true. And another thing, I keep hearing that MLK was some FBI or CIA informant. Somebody bring me proof. Because until somebody brings me proof, I don't believe it. But what I do know, and this is what I don't understand about Black people today, because y'all want to hate on MLK and y'all believe anything today. Y'all will believe MLK was an informant, Malcolm X was an informant, anybody, because social media is telling you. Social media is ran by these same racist people, right? You guys forget. You guys want to say MLK is an informant. You guys forget who J. Edgar Hoover is. American citizens paid their tax-paying dollars, which then some of that went to J. Edgar Hoover, which he then used that to surveil King, Malcolm, the Shakurs, Huey, Hampton, you name it. J. Edgar Hoover was using resources to follow Malcolm X and watch his letters to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad while he was still in prison. This person said that the Nation of Islam was a threat to society and was a Black terrorist group. This is the same organization that MLK's family filed a lawsuit against and only won $100. They filed a lawsuit saying that the FBI had involvement in his death, that they went as far as running a smear campaign on him. You're going to tell me the organization that locks up your favorite rappers for lyrics can hold them in jail with no real proof would have then worked with MLK to trick you into not having segregation just to what? What would be the FBI's endpoint of making MLK an informant? I want somebody to give me a real answer. See, they want you to believe that MLK was an informant because they want you to feel that his journey and his struggle, along with others like Hampton and Malcolm and Huey, was in vain. They want you to believe that they didn't really love you. They want you to believe that they weren't really there for you. They were there for themselves. Because if they can convince you to hate the leaders that lost their lives in pursuit of a better life for us, if they can get you to believe that those people were false idols, then you'll never rise up. You'll never realize the realistic way to become better as a culture, to become better as a community. They understand that. So when you see this rhetoric of King was an informant, how could you believe that? These guys put thousands of dollars into the demise of King. These guys took other Black people off the street and created COINTELPRO and put Black people in Black organizations to disarm them from the inside out. Why the fuck would they work with King? See, the winner always writes history. And so what white America or the government, whatever you want to call it, what they're able to do is put that rhetoric out there. And it's harmful. It's a smear campaign on our people that have done everything they could to get us to succeed. Now you got people looking at it in vain. And it's crazy because this is what they want. When do we wake up and realize that? So y'all telling me it's better when we couldn't talk to everybody? When we couldn't cross the train tracks? Y'all tell me that was better? And the niggas that's saying it's better didn't even live back then. That's the kicker. The niggas that's saying we was better off before civil rights didn't even live back then. Niggas weren't even alive back then. So how are you going to say what was better or not? We speak from a place of privilege. But it's just so crazy how the Black community is willing to believe anything. You're so quick to believe people that look just like you are against you. But not Donald Trump, a lot of us. You think J. Edgar Hoover was like, yeah, King, work with us and we're gonna brainwash them that everybody's supposed to be together. No. What you guys don't realize is Dr. King was a once-in-a-lifetime type of character. And when he came on the scene, that was something that white America and white government did not plan for. So at that point, they have to play catch up. They have to cherry pick. They have to react to what's going on. They're at a point in the world and in time where they're not able to be proactive on the demise of our culture. And so that's where the revision of history comes from. That's where the negative rhetoric of King and Malcolm and Hampton and all these people come from. It's because they didn't have anything else to stop it at the time. All they could do was react to it. And because all they could do was react to it, we ended up getting what we wanted. But we didn't go any further. We didn't go any further. At all. We didn't. We got there. And some of the stereotypes, like us being lazy and us having a big ego and thinking we're smarter than what we are, that led to our downfall as a culture over time. From the end of segregation till now. We don't take no accountability. We just blame King. We just blame Malcolm. Because King was able to say, hey, you can go to this school now. You can go eat here now. You can go be with this person. You can do all these things now. You can have more opportunities. He's in the wrong for that. Nah, he's not. We're in the wrong. We didn't do everything we could to ensure. Look at how the community is. We were able to get more opportunities to education. And what did we do? Yeah, a lot of us went that route. But a lot of us chose to look the other way into the pitfalls that they had set up. Because remember, I told you they then had to react. Oh shit, these people are going to be more educated now. They're going to have access to more schools. They're going to then have access to our people, which we know not all of our people are racist. So then what happens when the smart black people start mingling with the smart white people that don't care about race? What happens? What happens then? What happens now when they can go to this, get this job, work at this bank, get this loan? What happens then? So that's when they start reactively picking the pitfalls for us. So at that point in time, once segregation is up, of course they're going to immediately go and figure out, okay, what can we do? The you know what I mean? The welfare. Let's get rid of welfare completely. Or let's get rid of poverty completely. My apologies. So we're going to put everybody on welfare. So there's always going to be pitfalls. There's Section 8. There's crack cocaine. There was heroin. There's always going to be those pitfalls. But ultimately, King and others led us to the promised land. At that point, the plan was for every single black family, if they could, to work hard, keep the ethics and the morals I think that we had pre-segregation. I'm sure there were still bad apples always, but we had a stronger family unit. I think we had a higher sense of religion. We had a higher sense of respect for ourselves and the way we presented ourselves pre-segregation, or not pre-segregation, but before segregation was lifted. So I think the plan and what King thought was his culture would keep those things, those base things, because we had a knack for learning. We wanted to learn more. We wanted to get in higher positions. That's what we wanted at that point in time. But then we got it. And niggas, let's keep it 100, got complacent. Niggas got lazy. Niggas started looking everywhere else but success. Niggas started looking for another King, another Malcolm, to take us to a new height instead of being that leader themselves. So we got to look within. Without civil rights, we're still getting chipped off the street for no reason. And that still happens right now, but at a way more alarming rate back then. Y'all understand that we didn't even have bathrooms in our house. Everything we got was second class before segregation was lifted. You can't blame King because after that, people said, you know what, I'm going to go dine at Whitey's spot, but I'm never going to build my own spot. You can't blame him for that. You got to blame those people. There was people that was eager to go and give up their identity to sit with those people, to eat with those people, to work with those people. There was still a lot of us that wanted to be pro-black, but be able to be an individual. Which means, yeah, I can go here. I can talk to these people, but I can represent my culture everywhere, not just on this side of the tracks. That's what a lot of people wanted, but we didn't go that route. People got, again, we advanced into the middle class. And when we started to do that, people stopped giving a fuck about the pitfalls. Let's just keep it 100. People started turning to drugs and alcohol. People started wanting to do violence more. Fathers started leaving the house more. We can blame that on welfare, of course. And you know, the fact of, hey, if you don't have a man in the house, you'll get paid. That's definitely an incentive to keep the man out the house. But you still got to put it on a man for not being there, for leaving at an alarming rate. You can't just blame that on the system. Or MLK, or Malcolm, or any of the people who actually fought to get us somewhere higher. It's the people who take us back down lower. It's not the leaders. It's the people. Because the leaders take you where they can, and they're going to get chipped. That's a given. You in that line of work, you're stirring up that kind of trouble, you're probably not making it out. So they throwing Hail Marys, and we're not even catching them. We went from Diana Ross in the motherfucking Dreamettes to Sexy Red and Lotto. We've digressed. We went from Smokey Robinsons and the Temptations and Malcolm and James Baldwin and all these people to Lil Durk being the people who are celebrated, crash out culture being celebrated. And while that's systematically put in place, we have to take accountability in that as well. So I get tired of when we only blame the system, or we only are going to blame MLK and civil rights and these things. The Black community suffers from a syndrome I like to call fudge syndrome. And if anybody's seen Higher Learning, then you know who I'm talking about, the character Fudge, which was played by Ice Cube. Fudge was a super senior. Yes, he does graduate at the end of the movie, but Fudge was a super senior. But Fudge had all the knowledge on all the conspiracies. He could tell you who's in the Illuminati. He could tell you what plant is this and, you know, whatever is that. But he's not passing classes. He's not getting through college on a regular rate that the rest of his peers are. And I feel like a lot of Black people suffer from this fudge mentality. We could tell you who's in the Illuminati. We could tell you everybody that been at the Diddy party. We could tell you about the Epstein list. We could tell you about Club Shay Shay, right? We could tell you the government's out to get you. We can tell you don't trust anybody. We can tell you all these things, but then you sit a lot of Black people down and you say, what's your credit score? 500, 400. Okay, you got a savings? No. You know what a high yield savings is? No. You know what an HSA is? No. You know what a 401k is? No. You know what a Roth is? No. But if I go ask you who's in Illuminati and the Masonic checker tiles and robots and you'll know all of that. But you don't understand real world problems. It's like we don't understand how to profit or prosper in a real world, a lot of us. We so caught up with all that bullshit, and niggas don't even got a good credit score. So you could know all the Snapple facts in the world, and you can't use them. Knowledge is nothing if it's not applied. So this is why I feel like our community suffers from this fudge syndrome, because we think we know it all, because we can list all of these facts about people here and what they did here in 1940 and this and that. But if you don't understand some of the basic things that we need, and it comes from them pillars of family, your mental stability, physical stability. If you can't get that right, if you can't go focus and get that credit score up, if you can't get a savings and understand and look to the future, then it don't matter what the fuck you know about the government and how they're trying to help Black Americans meet our demise. It don't matter how you feel about MLK, because you're not doing anything to change it. Even on a base level, I always tell people this when we talk about the Black community. On a base level, what are you doing? I think we can't expect every Black American to open a business. We can't expect every Black American to make $1 million or start a corporation or be the next George Washington Carver, right? Like we can't expect that. But I think on a base level, what we can do is have for people to get their credit up, become more financially literate, become better in shape, because we know chronic disease is killing the Black community, right? Become more mentally stable, because we know things like anxiety and depression and PTSD run rampant in our communities. People don't know how to address it. And suicidal thoughts turn to impulsive actions, right? Or homicidal impulses. So we get control of that. We get control of the finances. That's what we need over all the other stuff that we choose to focus on, in my opinion. So until we can do that, it doesn't matter what you think or who you think is better. It doesn't matter, because we're still suffering. I'm sure MLK had those things right to a certain degree. He had a home, he had a car, he was making a change in the community. Whether y'all like the way it ended up now or not, that was 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 70 years ago. So at some point we have to be accountable for where we are now. And that's our problem. We want change, we want progress, but we don't want to do anything to make the progress even on a base level. We don't want to focus, like I said, we don't want to focus on saving, investing, credit, and getting those key values right. We don't want to focus on that. We want to say, oh, well, let's just take over the world. How? How can a bunch of motherfuckers that's lazy, a lot of motherfuckers, Black people, we're lazy, don't want to do the job. We think we're too cool to do the job. And that's what I'm saying. We have this fudge mentality where it's like, I know everything. But at the same time, I don't know nothing. I'm in the system. I don't want to work for the system, but I don't want to create anything outside the system to prosper. So I'm really sitting here just having barbershop talk, and I'm not actually doing nothing. That's how I look at niggas when they get on MLK. Not everybody, because some people have valid points, but or civil rights, like that progressed us. What did you do to progress us? Not much. So that's where my head is at. Like, we have our community suffers from this ego. In Black culture, we need an ego death, in my opinion. Black culture needs a big ass mirror to be placed in front of it. And we need to look back at ourselves to see how we really, really look. Because we're lacking in education in 2024. A lot of our kids are obese and suffering from health issues. So are, elderly people. A lot of us are suffering from mental health issues. A lot of us don't have a dime to our name, don't have a savings, don't have a 600 credit score. A lot of us still struggle with work ethic, not being lazy, showing up to work. We do struggle with these things. Yeah, they're stereotypes, but they're stereotypes for a reason, because they're true. We're still struggling with these basic things. We need a mirror on our culture, because until we fix that, nothing's gonna get fixed. And you can blame whoever you want. But before King came along, where we have been? Y'all tell me. Y'all tell me. And you think of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Oh, that was a scam. We already were able to vote. Were we? You had to know questions that were really hard to know just to be able to vote. And then you had to have a Black representative there. It was way harder than it is now to vote before the 1965 Voting Rights Act. So King did a lot of things. These people did a lot of things. I think it's us in the newer generations who speak from privilege and had that privilege that didn't necessarily know what to do with it. A lot of us had a King's disease in a way. I'm not saying that everything was perfect and King just did everything, but he helped us out a lot with those rights that he pushed and those acts that he pushed. Whether y'all want to believe it or not, I don't think it has anything to do with liberal and conservative and blah, 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 blah. I think that he thought that lifting segregation would give us access to higher education, and in return, we would do the right thing with that, which a lot of us did, but a lot of us played into them pitfalls. And so that's where we're at right now. But we got to stop suffering from that fudge mentality of, I'm too smart that I'm not going to do nothing. I'm so smart. I'm too smart for the system, so I'm not going to be a part of it. Like I said, we say we want a new system, but we don't do anything to make a new system. We don't want to be a part of the system. Meanwhile, everybody else within the system surpasses us in things like economics, credit, all of those things. Other races are surpassing us in. And it's simply because we have people out here who have an ego that they know everything while knowing nothing, and they don't want to do the real work it takes for our culture to be lifted on a level playing field with other races. Don't blame King. Don't blame the system in 2024 for why your credit score sucks. You can't get a loan. You can't get a car. Your job, you don't have a higher education. You can't blame the system for everything. And also blame the leaders that tried to get us higher within the system. How does it work? So somebody just make it make sense to me. I'm standing on that. I think MLK and civil rights was not a trap, but it was the two biggest civil rights acts that helped us. We just didn't take full advantage of it. We didn't understand that there was going to be pitfalls and roadblocks and hurdles that we had to go through. We thought it was just done. And yes, maybe now some people, and I think that in return, the Civil Rights Act did lock Black Americans into the liberal Democratic Party, and that's a whole nother conversation. But regardless of that, you can't tell me, and you can't sit up here and say that we were better off before civil rights, because it's just not true. I stand on that. And one more thing, we can go on to MLK. They tried to tarnish his character. Oh, he fucked a white girl and he was drinking. Oh, wow. Maybe in 1940 or 1955, that was crazy, but fucked a couple white hoes and had some liquor. Doesn't sound like a bad guy to me. That's what he did on his off time. You do whatever the fuck you want on your off time. So a lot of you that want to paint MLK as this hypocrite or this two-face, it's like, what, he fucked a white girl and drank some liquor? Oh my God. But then on Monday through Friday, he stood up with the chance of being chipped every day, every night, phone tapped, followed all over. I don't care. I don't care he fucked a white girl and he had some liquor. I don't care he went to the bar. I don't care he was drinking. Who cares? These things don't matter. But once again, the government and white America, because they don't want you to have faith in your leaders, because they don't want you to repeat the same thing. So they want you to think it was fake because they want you to say, okay, this will never happen. This never happened. It was their doing, not ours. Because then you would see, damn, we're powerful. We actually could do that. So that's the plan, and a lot of you have fallen for it. A lot of you think he was an informant. A lot of you think he was this white girl runner or whatever. And even if he was, the shit he did, the shit he stood for, and the way he lost his life for us, you can't tell me that didn't progress us. You just can't tell me that, and I'll have that argument any day. So, let's see what we got. I want to go on to something else, to be honest. I want to go on to this.
Modern day women just don't qualify for the top tier men, and that is the truth.
Do you believe you're a top tier man? By what standard?
I'm 6'4", only about 8% of the entire world is 6'4". I make well over 100K a year. And I'm black at that if you add that on. So just if we're speaking about those figures, the things that women are attracted to, no, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I'll let you do the math.
Hold on, before we go, what's your math saying?
The conversation and the words that are coming out of the mouth of someone like you, I would never consider top tier. A top tier man is also a man that is extremely desirable by way of his character. A top tier man is a man who displays a certain level of intellect that allows him to consider other people. A top tier man, they lead with love, not with dictatorship, right? They don't want to control their woman. They want to gently lead their woman.
Cat, while those are all things of a high value man, that is 100% certain. You lead with intention. You're gentle. You don't want to control your woman, but you want to set certain boundaries and standards that you have in your relationship. You're firm on that. You don't go back on that. You're a protector. You're a provider. Those are all things that are within the confines of being a high value man. She is 100% correct. However, the only reason why she said that is because of what he said. But let's keep it 100. He said, I'm 6'4", I make over 100K, and I'm black. Most women are going to consider that high value before they know anything about you. So the only reason why she responded the way she responded is because she wanted to win the argument. In real life, if she met a 6'4" black dude that said, I work my own trucking business and I make $200,000 a year, before she knows anything about him, before she knows if he's can protect and if he's able to have integrity and all of that, she's going to think he's high value. And the funny part about this is literally, this is what women say is high value 24/7 online, chronically. A tall guy with bread. A lot of women say that's high value. A tall guy with bread that's going to pay for everything and not worry about anything you do. That's the status quo for a high value man. So when you see a man now say that, and y'all are saying that ain't high value, well, who told him it was high value? He didn't just make that up himself. That's information that this man has gathered over the course of his 28 to 30 years of life. So y'all can't now flip the script and say, oh, high value is having integrity and leading and not being a dictator and being gentle and all of this stuff, when The main thing y'all look for is height, looks, and bread. So you can't want an in-depth man and be a shallow woman. Now, in her instance, maybe she's like that in real life. Maybe that's what she does want. In my opinion, I feel like she only said these things to cook him. That was the only reason why she said it. Because in reality, she knows that about 99.9% of women, if they see a 6'4" guy, they go up to him, they think he's already attractive. That's already one. Boom, you're good. Two, they find out a little bit about you, what you do, how much you make. Boom, you're good. They're going to take it there with you before seeing anything else. And I bet, now not all women, but I bet a lot of women will treat that 6'4" man that makes over 100K a year better, even if he's a shitty person. They'll treat him better than the guy who makes $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year. They'll treat him better, and they'll go through more turmoil and turbulence with him than they will with him. Because of what he makes and his height. Women are very shallow. Let's keep it 100. Y'all will put up with shit just based off looks. I know I got an attractive man. I'll stay with this man. This man makes $100,000, $200,000. I'll stay with this man. This is high value. I'm not going to get this anywhere else. Or it might be hard to find. Whereas if you're with the $50,000 a year man, you might not talk to him with as much as respect. You might not look at him as high value as the other guy, even though he lacks, or even though he has the integrity, he has the morals, he has the principle, he shows up for you all the time. He does romantic things. He's not cheating on you. He's being faithful. But because he makes less money, and hey, maybe he's 5'10", you might not like him. You might choose big dude, like I said, over him because he makes a little bit more and he's taller. Maybe he's a little bit more attractive. This is not something that came out of thin air. Otherwise, men wouldn't be leading with this. Men aren't leading with their pockets and their looks for no reason, because they want to. You talk to a lot of men in relationships about what they actually want in a relationship. It's loyalty, honesty, respect, coachability, right? These are things we want. We want love, but all those things right there, a hot cooked meal, sex, all those things can make us feel loved right there. So if you talk to a man and you really get into the core of what a man really wants out of a woman, it's not really shallow. It's things that you cannot buy. Whereas in a woman, they're going to talk about certain requirements they need for a man, which could be able to be financially stable. A lot of times it's tall. These are preferences. So men are not making these things up out of nowhere as something that we think women want. This is what women telling us they want every day, all over the line. And they're accepting less internally due to the outward appearance and finances of certain people. So she's 100% cap. In my opinion, I think women just say whatever to be the opposite of you at this point in time. Not all women, but her in this instance. And she didn't even really cook him, because I bet if you go through her history, you can find that she's dated dudes that is exactly what he described. Didn't treat her well, but she stayed because he had bread. He was tall, maybe a little bit more attractive than the other guys she had access to at the time. Come on now. So we know we're not stupid. And while his answer was shallow, because it was, I think there's way more to being a high value man. I think that while the money's important, and I mean, I guess the height's important, those are not the most important things. What she listed really was the most important things. Because whether you make money or not, if you lack those in certain areas, the money's not going to make up for it unless that person chooses to go through whatever it is just because of the money and the looks. So he led, and he did say something shallow, but you have to ask him why. And it's because the reaction men like that get from women. You get the better reaction. Men have seen other men get the better reaction just from being taller and having money, or being financially stable and being more fit, or maybe not even the tallest, whatever, just attractive. So you can't sit up here and say that what he said is not to a certain degree a high value man. Because it is. Because a lot of you aren't even giving a guy a chance if he doesn't have those two things that bro described. So I don't even know what we're talking about at this point. I don't. Let's see.
Top tier man creates space.
Modern day women just don't qualify for the top.
For a woman to feel good about herself. A top tier man supports the dreams and the ideas of a woman. A top tier man prioritizes a woman. A top tier man is in leadership and working as hard as he is to give the woman the life of her dream.
And with all that stuff that you just said, that was just womanese talk.
Womanese is also 6'4", black, attractive. I don't know too many women in my circle who desire a 6'4" man still wearing braids. But for a woman to feel good.
And right there, and this is the part that I was waiting for, because like I said earlier about her only saying what she said was to cook him. That right there lets you know. Throw everything she said out. She didn't say any of that because she meant it. She said it to cook him. And the reason why I say that is because at the end, what did she say? Womanese is a 6'4" black man that makes $100K. I don't know too many women in my circle that desire a 6'4" black man that still has braids. That was very specific to him, and that was a shot at him. I don't know if he took it like that. I don't know if he cared, but that's clearly trying to take a shot at him and his ego. And she only did that because he called her out on her cap-ass speech, because he understood that you only said that because it was word salad and you thought you would sound smart and intelligent, when in reality, we know the real deal. In real life, women are choosing niggas that have bread and maybe you're tall or more physically fit or more attractive. So you know she was hurt because he called cap on it because she then went and attacked him. He never attacked her one time. This is why you have to be careful when you listen to certain women, because a lot of it can be out of spite. So certain women will lead you down the wrong path because they're angry, because they're upset at men in their life. You know, and while what she said was true, again, you think that's what her real life mirrors? I don't know. That's like with Dr. Bryant. Is that what her real life mirror? Not really. So you have a lot of these relationship gurus come on here and try to talk and give you, advice and what a man should be and what a man shouldn't be, and don't got a man. 3-4 failed marriages. 2 kids by 2 different baby daddies. I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to you. You can't keep a man. You can't keep a woman. I'm not listening to you. The fuck is we talking about? You see that right here. She don't know. She don't know. She don't know. She don't know. 100% cap. Attack man's whole character at the end, or his appearance, trying to make him feel less than because of what? Because he called what women want. That's high value, and it's very simple. See, she went off, and even that was 1,000,001 things. Like, come on. Either way is difficult. Because they want you to have all that, but they also want you to have all this. It's like, make up your mind. She's mad that he made women sound simple, because in reality, a lot of women are. Men as well, but it comes down to what you look like, what you drive, how much you make. If you can wow a woman, not all women, I want to keep reiterating that because I understand there's women out there that really do look at the character of a man, to judge him and see if they want to be with him. But a lot of women will be wowed with those 3 things alone. You can work on the rest later. So he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Yeah, man. So if you're watching this, please like, subscribe. I'm about to get up out of here. I feel like I gave a good talk. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Both topics. Again, man, thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, run me up, give me an algorithm. It's Kali the One. I don't know where y'all are going, but you got to get the hell up out of here.